This video is intended for educational purposes only. Advice should be sought about your specific matter. No attorney-client relationship is formed between any client and attorney Don Dennis until there is a signed engagement agreement and payment of an initial deposit. No client-consultant agreement has been formed between any client and Inverted Chaos Incorporated until there is a signed agreement and payment of an initial deposit.
Hello everyone and welcome to the show. My name is Hurtado. We got a great show for you today. I got attorney Don Dennis with us again with a new case topic. How you doing, Don?
I'm doing all right. Glad to be here. Glad to be in LA and Silicon Beach. It's going to be hot today and we're going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, definitely. There's always a lot of new stuff going on in Silicon Beach down here. Which case do you have for us today?
Well, it's an interesting example of what you can do with a trademark because, well, first and foremost, a trademark is any word, name, symbol, device, color, or smell that a business or someone uses to identify and set apart their goods that they sell or their services that they provide from those made by others, to indicate that they or their business are the source of those goods or services. So when you think of a word, you might think of something such as McDonald's or Nike or Coca-Cola. Those are trademarks. When you think of a symbol, you might think of the Apple symbol on your computer or the McDonald's symbol for the golden arches that everybody's familiar with. And then when you think of when you think of a phrase, because everyone likes to trademark their business's slogan sometimes or their phrase, you might think of "Let's get ready to rumble" before the boxing matches, or "You're in good hands with Allstate," or Budweiser, the king of beers, or Subway, "Eat fresh." Those all are trademarked slogans. So today we're looking into Hasbro, because they went ahead and trademarked a famous smell. And they trademarked the smell of Play-Doh. Now, anyone under the sound of our voices should be familiar with Play-Doh, unless you grew up somewhere in a remote area that didn't have Play-Doh. But even if you did, you would be familiar because Hasbro describes Play-Doh as a sweet, slightly musky scent.
Right.
And you can take from that whatever you want to take from it.
So really, like, a company can trademark a smell at this point? Is this something new, or could this be done throughout?
It's always been around. It's just rare that someone is able to meet the stringent requirements of the trademark office and to show that what you're trying to get trademarked, in this instance, a smell, deserves that protection. And, Play-Doh's been around since 1956. And people are extremely familiar with it. They've seen it. And so it has a lot of strength as a mark on its own. So therefore, when you have situations like that, even if it's kind of a questionable mark, it affords more deference or respect from the United States Patent and Trademark Office.
So this is an important business decision for Hasbro, right? Because essentially they trademark their recipe. Like if some other knockoff Play-Doh product tries to create it that smells the same, then all of a sudden they can't be put on the market, right?
Well, not necessarily. They're not supposed to use their smell, but yes, it affords them protection. And by them getting that type of protection for that smell, what it allows Hasbro to do, if someone came up with a smell similar and they were trying to, for example, sell something that was of a similar texture to Play-Doh, trying to capitalize off of it, they could sue them for infringement if it met all of the requirements. And by having a registration with the trademark office, the law allows you to sue for certain amounts of money. For example, if someone uses that scent and creates something like Play-Doh, they could sue, Hasbro could sue that, and they're selling it. Hasbro could sue them for between $1,000 and $200,000, if they just did it, for example, and didn't know that Hasbro was doing this, or weren't on any type of notice and were just doing it innocently. Mm-hmm. However, if they were doing it on purpose, which the law designates as willful, then they could be sued for up to $2 million.
Oh, wow.
Per item that they're doing that for. So, having that legal protection, that statutory protection, as we say, affords them a lot of rights to go out and do certain things. In addition, if they were importing, something similar to Play-Doh that infringed on that smell, they could stop that import at the port, at the train station, at the airport, at the bus station, whatever. Mm-hmm. They have the right to stop that. So having that trademark is important for companies because it gives you a lot of rights in a lot of legal ways in order to protect your rights. But I have to say, just having a trademark means nothing. Again, just having a trademark means nothing unless you enforce your rights. So the law calls it you have to police your rights. So the police or any law enforcement agency doesn't just randomly go around and say, hey, you have a trademark, let me enforce it. I think someone's infringing. You have to actively do something about it. So it's one thing to get past the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and get the registration, but it's a whole other thing to enforce your rights when you find someone that is infringing or that you think is infringing upon your trademark.
Right. So if a new business owner wants to get one of these trademarks, where do you get one?
You get it. You apply through the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and they have all types of guides on their website that will walk you through it. And they have a helpline. Well, they used to have an 800 helpline. I don't know if they still have it, but where you can ask certain questions and they'll answer them. But they will, and they have even low cost fees for people. If they're trying to save money on the registration process. But the issue that pops up sometimes is that, you can register and you can do a search because you can't get a trademark if someone already has that mark registered. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's a little difficult to search things out to make sure that you're not going to run into that problem because you don't want to pay the fee and then get a denial letter saying, you can't have your trademark because someone else has it or they have something similar to it. Because the law isn't that it has to be identical. It's about the level of similarity of the trademark. So that runs afoul of people and they get into problems sometimes, and then they get a letter back from the trademark office saying, hey, we see you apply to get a trademark. However, how do you justify us giving you a trademark when so-and-so business down the street has something that's very similar to yours, or another company in a different state you didn't even know about has something similar. Mm-hmm. And then they tell you, well, this is a legal proceeding of what you're trying to do, so you may want to get an attorney. So that's why sometimes it's more, valuable to hire an attorney to handle things like that for you and register the trademark because they can do a search and let you know the likelihood of you getting this trademark before you spend a lot of money. Also, you would hate to start developing your business around a certain logo or a certain design or a slogan and then come back and not be able to get the trademark and have to cancel all of the promotion that you've done. So it's kind of wise to look into that in advance. I don't per se do trademark registrations, but a lot of attorneys do.
How long does the process usually take?
I believe Hasbro registered for theirs last year and they got it this year. So it can take a little over a year, but it all depends because when you're going through the process, for example, let's say, from my understanding, if they find that no one else technically has an identical mark or a similar mark and they're ready to give it to you, they publish this matter to the public and let anyone else dispute it if they want to dispute you getting the mark, because they'll say, hey, XYZ company shouldn't get this mark because I have something similar to it and it's not fair. So then if you have to deal with disputes, that can drag the process out. But if there are no disputes, I believe it can be done in a little over a year.
Oh, wow. It's still pretty long, though. It's not like registering for a Facebook profile or something.
No, it's way different than signing up for Instagram or
Right.
getting your Facebook page going because it has to be because of all rights that you're entitled to once you get it. So
Mm.
they have to be very thorough, before they do this.
Hmm. What do businesses usually trademark? Is it like logos and slogans, as you were saying before? Is there anything else?
Trademark logos, slogans, smells, sounds, all types of things. In addition, something else that businesses are trademarking are the second level domain names.
Mm.
So what you see when you put after the www, they're trademarking that, and that's valuable because if you have a valuable domain such as inverted chaos or Lewis.com, and you don't want anyone else to use your name with
Hmm.
respect to the work that you do, you would want that trademarked. So, and you can get that also. Companies, you can get hashtags trademarked.
Oh, really?
There's a provision in the trademark manual that allows you to trademark hashtags. And therefore, so how does this work? Well, the way, and I'm glad I thought about that, so I'll answer that question for myself. That's an easy question. The way it works is, let's say you have your business name, let's say, for example, for the sake of our example, XYZ Company, trademarked, and you have a website for that. And someone goes ahead and sets up an Instagram name of XYZ Company, and they're trying to capitalize off of your valuable and popular name. Well, you can sue them for trademark infringement, and they would have to cease from using that Instagram name, or
Mm.
maybe cease from using that Twitter name, or possibly cease from using that Facebook name if they set up a Facebook page or a Twitter page or something like that. You could make them stop using it. Let's say you have a trademark for your business name, and before you get the opportunity to set up your website, someone else knows about it and they beat you to the punch, just trying to, be slick
Hmm.
and make you buy it back from them. Well, there's a law in place called the Anti-Cybersquatting Consumer Protection Act, and you can go after them and sue them for that, and end up getting that domain name. And they would have to turn it over to you. So there's all types of power that having a trademark affords you so that you can keep people out of your domain names, out of your usernames, out of your Instagram names, Facebook, things of that nature, or from using a certain hashtag that is popular for your company.
Yeah, it sounds like it's not an automatic thing. Like you have to be policing your own stuff. Like even if someone were like the example you just spoke about, where the cyber squatting, someone actually registered a domain, you can't like just automatically get it back. You still have to go and sue, right? Like it's not like you send off a letter and then automatically it gets back. So there's fees incurred, right?
Yeah, there are fees incurred. However, you can, so the one obviously we talked about, you can go to court. However, also you can go through the WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization, and they have a proceeding that's a little bit quicker than court by filing a uniform domain name dispute
Mm.
resolution policy proceeding, and you can get your domain name back that way. It's a
Hmm.
little bit quicker, a little bit cheaper, but they still have the power to transfer the domain name. And one company that does this all the time is Instagram, because it's so many people coming up with knockoff Instagram names of where they're trying to capitalize off of Instagram. And so Instagram sues them or files these proceedings with WIPO and gets those names and those pages canceled or those
Hmm.
websites canceled. So just recently, earlier this year, they went after a company, and what they did was they came up with Instagram.eu, but they used a lowercase l to resemble the uppercase
Oh,
I
right.
in Instagram. And Instagram was successful in showing that they strictly did it trying to confuse people, and they got that domain name canceled by that
Hmm.
company.
Hmm.
So it happens. I mean, so big companies. So again, as we were saying, policing, Instagram has to actively police its market. And when we're saying policing, we're talking about taking steps to protect your trademark, taking steps to protect the goodwill and the good name that your company has built, and so other people can't capitalize off of it. Because what does it matter if you have a very well respected name and you're well known in a certain industry, and then someone else can come just capitalize on it without, permission or without paying you for all the work that you've done.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, the reason that you want to protect that name is because if you have a certain level of quality that customers can rely on you for, and someone else is using your name and they're not, first of all, they don't have permission, but second of all, they're doing it at a substandard level of work, it can diminish your mark, tarnish your tarnish your image and dilute your image and therefore diminish the value of your mark. Because a lot of times a company's intellectual property can be worth more than a lot of the tangible assets that the company owns, such as the Apple symbol is worth a lot of money. The Microsoft logo is worth a lot of money. So these are things that upstart, up-and-coming, and emerging growth businesses need to take into consideration when they're coming up with their logo and they're coming up with their strategy as to how they're going to protect their business. And that's why Hasbro said, hey, we've been around. Our Smell of Play-Doh is distinctive, and we're going to protect it. And so now that they've protected it, they're doing things like selling Hasbro cologne. Play-Doh scented cologne and things of that nature.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. So you should definitely. One thing I thought about as a first line for people to use as a tip is you can set up a Google alert. Google has these alerts where if you type in a search string like XYZ company, as we were saying, and anytime that comes up in the news or it comes up in Google search results, it'll email you, and then you can use that as a way to set up policing. Because I was thinking about, like, do you hire an attorney to also do the policing, and like you get reports back from them like every month or something like that, just to see what the changes are?
You can hire an attorney to do that, and there are certain companies that you can pay to do that. But as you said, that gets very expensive. So your idea is a great idea for emerging and growing and developing businesses so that they can minimize some of their overhead, but at the same time actively police their trademark. So that's a great idea.
Yeah, like I would say you would want to do both in conjunction if you really want to have everything be tip top.
That's a great, and I'm sorry, excuse me. When you said that, it gave me another idea.
Mm-hmm.
What some companies do when they are trying to dominate their field and trying to really make sure that their trademark stands out is that they will, and they don't want to have to deal with WIPO or deal with suing people for anti-cybersquatting issues, is that they will register all the closely related domain names to their business. So they might register xyz.com, xyz.org, xyz123.com, and all types of things like that to just kind of clear people out of their space.
Right. Yeah, that's you see that a lot with Amazon, like different spellings of Amazon, just because people misspell it and then think they're on Amazon's website. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And since you said that,
mm-hmm.
excuse me, it made me think of another legal issue that pops up, and it's called typo squatting,
right,
where some people go out here and purposely look for deviations of your business name. So let's say they didn't know how to spell Amazon, or they were in another country and they weren't familiar with it, but they heard something about it and they spelled it, instead of Amazon, they spelled it Amazen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are companies that will register that to try to divert traffic from Amazon and make you believe you're on their website and sell items similar to it. And that's called typo squatting. And you also can sue for individuals trying to do that have a bad faith intent in doing so.
Would you need the trademark for that, or is that just is that a typical usage for suing?
No, it doesn't have to be well, like I was saying earlier, it doesn't have to be identical. It's the mere fact that someone is trying to, come up with something that has a high level of similarity to what you're doing.
I see.
And that's enough to show that it's infringing because they purposely are doing it, most likely. But you would have to prove that.
Mm-hmm. In court, right?
Yeah,
that whole deal.
In court.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, my company can create specialized custom logos for typical clients like these, and it'll set your business apart in terms of branding and allow you to create that trademark from a fully customized logo that you can use for all sorts of branding purposes, from YouTube commercials, YouTube videos, Instagram. There's tons and tons of usages at this point for new customized branding. I feel like that's before your office space was the important part, but now it seems like your branding is what people see more than anything else. So I think it's very important.
What, in terms of your company being able to create these marks, do you do it for any type of company, or is it just you only work with certain companies?
I typically work with tech, media, entertainment companies, but I've done product companies as well, like consumer products.
Okay.
Yeah, it's at this point, it really comes down to the research and figuring out what the client, what the company needs, and then we create a customized logo based upon that criteria.
What other items can you create for companies that are trying to really set themselves apart?
Oh, based off the corporate branding that we create, we then apply that to website design, social media profiles, presentation decks for your PDFs to send out to sales reports, prospective clients, YouTube ads, videos for commercials. Motion graphics is very important at this point. Yeah, so it's like once you create that brand, you apply that to so many different media at this point. Yeah.
So when you say motion graphics, it makes me think that just having a website is like being in kindergarten and graduating from kindergarten. Like, that's just the bare basics, especially when you think of things such as GoDaddy or other companies allows you to use their website builder or something like that. That's just the bare basics, but you're talking about motion graphics, and you're talking about things that will really set companies apart and make a business's website distinct from another business's website. And also, wouldn't it be good if a company is really serious about doing something and setting themselves apart to have maybe an ongoing relationship with your company? Because in my opinion, and from what I've seen, content is constantly changing. And if you have stagnant content, then people are going to be looking, and customers are going to be looking to go somewhere else where they can be entertained and amused and fed with new content. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. Going back to the motion graphics thing, like if you think about it, just creating a website is the same idea as how often do people sit down and read novels or read, but then how often do people sit down and watch TV? Like text to video, way more people watch a video on the internet than they do is reading text articles. So I would say once you create that logo and branding, you definitely want to start creating video content, because video content is what people go to on the internet way more often than writing text, So they should both be used, definitely, but video content is where it's at this point, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think this is a very peculiar case in terms of the Hasbro Play-Doh thing. I had no idea you could trademark a smell, but apparently I guess you can.
Yes. And
Mm-hmm.
go ahead.
No.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was going to wrap it up. So if you wanted to talk about anything else. Yeah.
No, I think we covered this. I think we went through all the good, the bad, and the ugly with respect to trademarks, and with respect to how you can even get a trademark, because you can't register something unless you have it, and you don't want to waste your time and expense and money registering something that's no good. So, it's best to engage and contact Inverted Chaos to make sure that this is done correctly the first time, so you don't have to redo anything, because you never get a second chance to make a first impression.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to come out strong, especially in this world of high competition that's out here. And if anyone needs assistance, if you have a trademark and something has happened and someone is infringing on your trademark, or if you have a feeling that they're infringing on their trademark, feel free to contact my office, because we handle these type of situations, whether it's a cybersquatting, someone is using a domain name that's similar to your trademark, or they're trying to extort you because you're trying to get the domain name that's affiliated with your business name or trademark. we handle these type of issues and resolve them so you can have peace of mind and not be worrying about it all night.
Yeah, so you can check out Don Dennis's Instagram at Don Dennis Law, and also his website. I'm sorry, which one is Attorney Don Dennis, right? Which one?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Attorney Don Dennis.
That's what it was.
You can search Attorney Don Dennis on YouTube and find out more informative videos that will help your business thrive and succeed. And also, you can visit my website at dondennislaw.com.
Correct, dondennislaw.com. We'll have the text link in the description, so check it out. Thanks again, Don. I really appreciate you taking the time to go through these court cases. I think they're always so interesting.
All right, thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you watching. We'll have more content for you week to week. Thanks.